Sri Lanka ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
D-Day approaches. The country prepares as August 5th gazetted as the new date for parliamentary elections. Tall tales. XPM makes sensational claims of WHO funding windfall.
The WHO gave us $230 million to control the coronavirus. Where did this money go?
Normalcy reigns. Government eases restrictions on public worship and tuition classes from this month onwards. Surviving the virus. Challenges and opportunities of Sri Lanka's export sector live in focus tonight. All this and much more coming up this Wednesday, the 10th of June 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then dikukal pavathina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very warm welcome. This is your English news service on AdaDerana 24. The much anticipated date for parliamentary polls is now out. The Election Commission has unanimously decided to hold the general election on the 5th of August, extending the date from the previously declared 20th of June. The relevant Gazette notification to hold the elections on the 5th of August was issued this afternoon.
The Election Commission met this morning to arrive at a decision regarding the polls date. Commission members, President's Counsel Nalin Abesekara, Professor Ratnajeevan Hool and Commission Chairman Mahinda Deshapriya were in attendance.
පළාත් සභා ඡන්ද විසීම අතුරුදන් කරේවත් තිබ්බේ නැත්තේ අපි නෙවෙයි. ඒක තිබ්බේ නැත්තේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව 50 සම්මත කරලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ආවට පස්සේ යෝජනාවක්වත් නොදා නොකර ඉඳලා. සියලු දෙනාම වක් කියන්න ඕනේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නියෝජනය කරපුවා. අපි නෙවෙයි. පළාත් පාලන ආයතන පරක්කු කිරීමත් අපි කතා කරේ නැත්නම් අපි ඒ 93වත් ගැසට් කරේ නැත්නම් අදත් නඩුව යනවා. තවමත් එහෙනම් ඡන්ද විමසීම නැහැ. අපි පුළුවන් අපේ උපරිම උත්සාහය කරලා දිනවා. උපරිම උත්සාහය කරනවා. ජුනි මාස 20 වෙනි දිනට නියමිත වූ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මහා මැතිවරණය 2020 අගෝස්තු මාස 5 වෙනි දින පැවැත්වෙන බව මැතිවරණ කමිෂන් සභාවේ සභාපති මහින්ද දේශප්‍රිය සමාජික ජනාධිපති නීතිඥ නලින් අබේසේකර සමාජික මහාචාර්ය රත්නජීවන් හූල් යන අපති දෙනා විසින් ඒකමතිකව තීරණය කළා ගැසට් නිවේදනය දැන් අත්සන් කර එය රජයේ මුද්‍රණාලාධිපති නියමිත යවූ බව මෙයින් නිවේදනය කරනවා.
Meanwhile, the Election Commission also called for a meeting with the Acting Inspector General of Police and election monitoring organizations. In the meantime, police media spokesman SP Jaliya Senaratne says that strict law enforcement measures will be taken against any member of the public found flouting quarantine regulations and election laws.
මැතිවරණයක් ඇඳවලා තියෙනවා. ඒකට මේ කොරෝනා රෝගයට අදාළ නිරෝධායන රෙගුලාසි, ඒ වගේම මැතිවරණ නීතියට අදාළ මැතිවරණ පනත, ඒ වගේම රටේ තියෙන දණ්ඩ නීති සංග්‍රහය ඇතුළු සියලුම නීති වලට යටත්ව මේ කටයුතු සිදු විය යුතුයි. ඒ අනුව යම්කිසි ආකාරයකට මහජනතාව කටයුතු කිරීමට අපේක්ෂා කරනවා නම් රටේ තියෙන මේ නීති උල්ලංඝනය කරමින් සෞඛ්‍ය සහ නිරෝධායන රෙගුලාසි වලට පටහැනිව කටයුතු කරමින් සහ මැතිවරණ නීතිය උල්ලංඝනය කරමින් කටයුතු කරන අවස්ථාවලදී ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසිය මේ රෝග ව්‍යාප්තිය වැළැක්වීම සඳහා උපරිම ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගැනීමට කටයුතු කරනවා.
Following the presenting of a private member bill to Ontario's Legislative Assembly calling for a Tamil Genocide Education Week, the Sri Lankan High Commission in Canada has lodged protests with the Canadian government over vastly exaggerated casualty figures and the terming of the separatist conflict as a genocide. The Foreign Ministry says that it will continue to engage with the Canadian authorities and urged Canadian authorities to consider a balanced view and not be swayed by prejudicial viewpoints propagated by anti-Sri Lanka activists in Canada.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has announced that the attention of the High Commission of Sri Lanka in Canada has been drawn to reports concerning the Private Member Bill 104 that has been presented to the Ontario Legislative Assembly, calling for the proclaiming of a Tamil Genocide Education Week, of which the first reading was held on 30th April 2020. The Act claims that acts of genocide against the Tamils started in 1948 after Sri Lanka gained its independence and were perpetrated through Sinhala Buddhist-centric government policies, pogroms, land grabs and ethnic cleansing. The bill, that claims exaggerated civilian casualty figures from the Civil War of up to 146,679, calls for the public acknowledgement of the killings and all aspects of the genocide. The Foreign Ministry statement says that the High Commission and the Consulate General in Toronto will continue to engage with the federal and provincial authorities of Canada in this regard. Further, the Sri Lankan government has lodged firm protests against what it termed blatantly false claims made in the bill, including the grossly exaggerated casualty figures and the allegations of genocide. In addition, the High Commission has urged Canadian authorities to consider a balanced view and not be swayed by prejudicial viewpoints propagated by certain anti-Sri Lanka activists in Canada. Further, it states that several Sri Lankan groups and private individuals in Canada have also engaged with the Canadian government against the misrepresentations in the politically motivated Private Member Bill.
Well, export sectors across the world have seen significant downturn following COVID-19 outbreak and are as yet showing very slow signs of recovery as governments have been rushing to implement measures to stave off the economic impact of the virus with a key focus on exports. Now in Sri Lanka, the Ministry of Foreign Relations has been instrumental in assisting the country's export sector in recalibrating their operations to suit the times, with the sector recording a historic decrease by 64% to $277.4 million from $772.57 million in export revenue recorded in April 2009. Now, I've invited to our studios additional Secretary for Economic Affairs of the Foreign Ministry, Ambassador P.M. Amza. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the live discussion to talk about exports and the intervention and what measures the Foreign Ministry will take.
Thank you, first of all, having us today and giving us the opportunity of talking to you on this very important and timely subject. And in fact, the Sri Lanka Foreign Ministry, as you know, that we have been working with 67 missions abroad, and their High Commission, embassies and Consulate General and Deputy High Commission. And we also work along with the line agencies here, namely the EDB, the BOI, the export, the Tourism Board, and also the Foreign Employment Bureau. So in fact, traditionally we have been working through these organizations, giving our missions target. In fact, it started in 2018 when the current Foreign Secretary became the Additional Secretary. And we have introduced the Economic Diplomacy Program, where we have given the missions the targets and also helped the missions to achieve those targets, including finding resources. But when it comes to COVID-19, I think we all, the entire world, as you said, had been confused and how to deal with our economy. And we, as early as late March, I remember the first communication to our missions went on the 30th of March, the circular number 100, asking our missions to provide details under 5 categories and particularly give them the market updates in their respective accreditation and concurrent accreditation. And we were able to get 59 market reports, and all those 59 reports were published in the EDB website for the exporters and the chambers to know, to give you a summary of that. And we had got the summary under 4 categories. Particularly, as you know, our main exports are in apparel and the tea as well as the rubber product. And all three items, we were finding opportunities, particularly.
This is in the post-COVID time.
Yeah, in the post-COVID. In fact, it started from late March.
Okay.
And April and May. And the summary has been we had demand for tea in 24 countries, face mask in 26 countries, PPE in 15 countries, rubber gloves in 22 countries, processed food in 16 countries, and vegetable and fruits in 14 countries.
So does this mean, given the current challenges and the ongoing difficulties, there's still demand for Sri Lankan exports, and we're looking at a strategy for post-COVID time also through the Foreign Ministry
Absolutely,
itself?
absolutely. In fact, taking the example of tea, we were able to get into Egyptian market. I have the statistics here. 220 metric tons of tea, and Turkey to 344 metric tons of tea. All that has been facilitated with a collaboration with the tea board, whereas tea board was assisted by our ministry of getting the legalization of documents. As you know, that we were under curfew, and the missions were also closed, and we were able to diplomatically approach the missions, missions in Colombo, from Middle East as well as Turkey, and we were able to ask them to legalize the documents. And apart from that, we were also able to help our producers, particularly in the garment sector, to source raw materials.
Right.
You know, because we have because our garment industry is geared for certain products, and when you immediately get orders for PPE, and we have a serious problem of getting those exports done because we don't have raw materials, and we were very happy. Out of the 23 missions we approach in South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, 16 missions have come out with 53 contact points, which helped our industry here to get the raw material and keep the export running. That might be a reason. In April 2020, our export was 277 million, and it has shot up to 606 million provisional in May.
Right.
I think if we continue this trend, there is an absolute opportunity for us to go according to the new set of target, which is
what is your new set of targets?
New set of target is 10.75 billion, which we reduced from the 18.5 billion. But I'm sure, so to achieve this 10.5 billion, we need to have 80 million average a month. But we have already gone to 606 million in May. I think if the trend continues, there is absolute opportunity for us to reach the target which we have set up.
But amidst these challenges, Ambassador Amza, that we face currently, there is also a challenge of sustaining the export industry because we face several shocks. What strategies and policies are you looking at? Because you're overseeing this export development side also.
Thank you for this question. Apart from this traditional item, we have also now working with EDB, and we have identified 15 sectors, new sectors, ranging from boat building, porcelain items, the BPO, IT products, and things like that. And we have now working it with our missions since this target has been done. And we are now concentrating on 5 specific areas where we will be dealing with our mission through webinars on 5 areas, namely boat and shipbuilding, ceramics and porcelain sectors, Ayurveda and herbal sector, electronic and electrical, and coconut. So that's in the pipeline. Out of the 15 sectors that we have identified, we have reason to believe that we can work with these 5 sectors with our missions, selected missions, not all the missions, selected missions, to introduce the new market to the world. And I am sure that we should be able to work because we have an excellent team in our missions, and they have been absolutely helpful.
Right. Very quickly before we wrap up this discussion, Ambassador Hamza, of course, at the end of the tunnel, what do we see for Sri Lanka? Because you say there are new opportunities that you're looking at, new ways. There's also a requirement for standardization amidst a pandemic. Health guidelines, health authorities, what should the exporters know? And while the Foreign Ministry is dealing with the other issues of bringing Sri Lankan expatriates back to Sri Lanka and liaising with your foreign missions, this export sector is also a top priority.
It's an unprecedented time for us and our missions abroad, and they have been facing a huge challenge which they have not faced before. And I'm sure so far my colleagues in the other section of the ministry have been doing a remarkable amount of work in containing and in bringing the Sri Lankans to Sri Lanka. But my division is dealing with exports, and I'm working with export related industries and the Board of Investment and other agencies who are directly dealing with economic affairs. I'm sure that we are a nation that we have shown our resilience in our number of field, and I'm sure that this will be a difficult time, but it's not that difficult that we may not be able to come out, and we have to be positive.
Thank you very much, Additional Secretary Hamza, who is overlooking the economic affairs for the Foreign Ministry of Sri Lanka, for joining us tonight to talk about the challenges and opportunities of Sri Lankan exports going ahead. Moving on to other local stories. Former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe alleged today that the government received a staggering $230 million from the World Health Organization for its COVID-19 response mission. This amount constitutes a massive 10% of the organization's annual budget for its global operations. Speaking to Kalathara and Matara district candidates of the United National Party, the ex-premier also accused the government of a lack of transparency in spending the funds allegedly received and called for a full disclosure on the disbursements.
The WHO gave us $230 million to control the coronavirus. That's a big amount. In rupee term, it amounts to 42 billion rupees. Now what has happened to this money? I'd like the health minister to disclose to the nation. What have you done? You have not ordered testing kits, you have not ordered face masks, you have not ordered personal protection equipment, you have not ordered ventilators. Then where did this money go? When Corona broke out, UNP and some of the other parties in opposition decided we will not have the conventional politics, we will not obstruct the government in carrying out their Corona control strategy, and wherever we can we will support them. But we asked only one thing in return: do 5,000 tests a day. That is all we wanted. The government hasn't done that 5,000 tests, so we still run some risk. Why couldn't you order the equipment? Have you placed orders for ventilators? Look at Kerala. When they were aware of it, they went up to 5,000 ventilators. We have done nothing. You can have enough 20 million face masks and still have money left over. What have you done with that money? In many other countries, when the number was announced, amount was announced, they started spending without even waiting for the money to be transferred. Why didn't we do that? This money was in foreign exchange for us to bring foreign goods, medicines that were needed. We also have the local medicines. We could have spent the local money on that. We have not spent it on anything from what I can see. So I like the minister to account for it, because if there was parliament, she would have had to account to parliament. This is the money given to the people by WHO. Kindly let us know how you have disbursed that money. Let the country know.
How were funds withdrawn from a suspended foreign currency bank account held by the wife of the Shangri-La bomber? We'll find out when we return after this break. Welcome back. A sub-inspector of the Criminal Investigations Department's Technical Assistance Unit told the Presidential Commission probing the Easter Sunday attacks yesterday of how funds were withdrawn from a suspended foreign currency bank account held by Fatima Jeffrey, the wife of the Colombo Shangri-La hotel bomber Ilham Ahmad Ibrahim. Investigations are currently underway to determine how almost $5,000 were withdrawn from the account after November last year. The commission was also played a recorded message left behind by the bomber with instructions given for it to be played to his family after he had carried out his deadly attack.
Sub-Inspector Dunesh Malita Ayagamage of the Criminal Investigation Department's Technical Assistance Unit gave evidence before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday attacks yesterday. He revealed to the Commission that on the night before the attacks, Shangri-La bomber Ilham Ahmad Ibrahim had made 2 voice recordings at the residence of his parents in Mahavila Gardens, Dematagoda. He stated that one of the audio tapes was recorded at 11:48 p.m. on April 20th and the other was recorded at 12:03 a.m. on the 21st. The audio recording recorded in Tamil was played to the Commission with the translation also provided. This is a message to my mother, father, brothers and sisters. I am recording this message with little time left. In short, my mother must seek forgiveness from Allah for her wrongdoings. Even though she is still unable to break away from the religion of her father, maintains contacts with non-believers and continues to provide alms to the Buddhist clergy, these constitute acts of shirk kufr. By the time you listen to this recording, I will already be with God. Sharia must be introduced to this country. Everyone must know how to deal with non-believers in an Islamic state, as well as how to operate in a non-Muslim state. I ask my parents to forgive me. Because of me, you will face many hardships. Due to this, our family will also face many problems. The police may also arrest my father and mother. Acts of jihad are essential at this time. After recording this statement, Ilham had then handed over the pen drive to his wife Fatima Jeffrey and instructed her to give it to his parents and then left the house. After this, Fatima Jeffrey had given the pen drive to Ilham's sister Ibada Ibrahim, who passed it on to her brother Ismail Ibrahim. The sub-inspector told the commission that when CID officers arrived at the house at Mahavila Gardens in Dematagoda following the Easter attack, the residents were in the process of listening to the recordings. It was at this point that Fatima Jeffrey detonated an explosive device inside an upper floor room that claimed the lives of 4 Colombo Crimes Division personnel. The commission then asked the sub-inspector if any other items were recovered from the house. The sub-inspector responded that officers recovered 283 booklets, 9 external hard drives, 2 pen drives, and a CCTV recording device. He added that the recordings were found on one of the pen drives. It is also revealed that prior to the attack on the night of April 20th, Ijaz Ahmad, a brother of Ilham, had attempted to grant powers of attorney over Ilham's affairs to their younger sibling, Ismail Ibrahim. He revealed that although such documents were sent to the house, they remain unsigned. The commission then inquired from the witness whether any probes were carried out on bank accounts belonging to Fatima Jeffrey, to which he responded that the Central Bank's Financial Intelligence Unit had discovered a savings account belonging to her, which had been opened in 2011. He added that although the account had a balance as at 9th November 2019 of $5,435, its current balance was now $293. The witness stated that no information has been uncovered so far as to how funds were withdrawn from the suspended account, and added that further investigations are being carried out to determine this.
The government today granted permission to recommence religious activities at places of worship after a hiatus of more than 3 months. Furthermore, the resumption of tuition classes were also given the green light from the 29th of this month. However, these activities will need to follow strict limitations on attendance numbers in order to maintain social distancing.
COVID-19 recovery spiked up to 1,122, with 65 more patients recovering and being discharged from hospitals. With that, the number of active cases now stands at 730. Among the 67 recoveries are 45 naval personnel, bringing Navy recoveries up to 608. The country has once again reported a low number of daily infections, with only 2 positive cases confirmed yesterday. 1 out of the 2 infections was a Navy sailor, while the other was a foreign arrival from Qatar, who is currently under quarantine at the Ampara Quarantine Centre.
මේ නාවික හමුදා සිද්ධිය සහ වෙනත් රටවල් වලින් රෝගීන් පැමිණීමත් සමග ප්‍රතිකාර ගොස් පිටව යන සංඛ්‍යාව අඩු වුණා සක්‍රීය රෝගීන් සංඛ්‍යාවට වඩා. එවැනි තත්ත්වයක් තුල තමයි අපිට රෝහල් ඇඳම් පිළිබඳව එහෙම ගැටලු ඇති වෙන්නේ. මේ තත්ත්වය දැන් ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම නැවත වරක් අනිත් පැත්ත හැරිලා තියෙනවා. එයත් හොඳ තත්ත්වයක්. ඒ වගේම නාවික හමුදාවේ වැලිසර 1300 ගණනක PCR පරීක්ෂණ කිරීමෙන් පසු 5 දෙනෙක් පමණයි ආසාදිතයින් බවට පත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකත් හොඳ ලක්ෂණයක්.
සමාජයෙන් කිසිම රෝගියෙක් වාර්තා නොවුනේ පහුගිය දවස් 40ටම හමුදාවන් පොලිසිය සෞඛ්‍ය අංශවල දොස්තර මහත්තුරු හෙදහෙදියන් PHI මහත්තුරු මේ කරපු අනගි සේවය නිසා තමයි මේ තත්ත්වය තියෙන්නේ. ඒ යාන්ත්‍රණය තවමත් අපි ගාව තියෙනවා. රෝගීන් හම්බුනේ නැහැ කියලා යාන්ත්‍රණය නවත්තලා නැහැ, යාන්ත්‍රණය අඩපණ කරලා නැහැ. දෙවෙනි රැල්ලක් එයි කියලා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු නොවුනත් දෙවෙනි රැල්ලක් ආවත් ඒකට මුහුණ දෙන්න අපේ නිලධාරීන්, අපේ සෙබළුන් සහ අපේ සෞඛ්‍ය අංශ සූදානම් කියන එක මම කියන්න කැමතියි.
With members of the public now allowed to move out freely following the lifting of the curfew, PCR tests are still being conducted to identify and head off any possible infection threats to the community. With that being the case, PCR test samples were obtained from randomly selected members of the public at the Fort Railway Station today. In a separate development, the government has given the green light to conduct religious activities from the 12th of June onwards in accordance with guidelines and limitations issued by health authorities. Accordingly, only 50 worshippers will be allowed to engage in religious observances at any place of worship while maintaining social distancing. However, places of worship that are unable to accommodate 50 persons will only be permitted to host half their usual numbers. Permission was also granted for the commencement of tuition classes from the 15th of June. However, the maximum number of students allowed in each class will be limited to 100. Locations that cannot accommodate this number in classrooms or lecture halls will be allowed to hold tuition classes for half the usual numbers. In the meantime, Minister of Environment and Wildlife Resources S.M. Chandrasena stated that zoological gardens and national parks will also reopen from the 29th of June.
ජාතික වන උද්‍යානවලට ඇතුල් කරන වාහන ප්‍රමාණය 150කින් අඩු කරනවා. ජනතාව සහභාගීත්වයත් 150කට පමණ සීමා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. සංචාරක මධ්‍යස්ථාන හෝටල් දැනට විවෘත වෙමින් පවතිනවා. රටේ සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාරය ආරම්භ කරන්න අපි මේ තීන්දුව ගත්තේ.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Developments on the pandemic from around the world. The Brazilian government was forced to reinstate COVID-19 virus data on an official government website following a Supreme Court ruling judging it be an impediment to the monitoring of the spread of the virus and implementation of appropriate prevention policies. Now, being the second worst hit country by the virus, the move by the government to hide its severity was reversed after accusation from across the political spectrum.
Brazil yesterday brought detailed COVID-19 data back to its national website after removing it over the weekend. A Brazilian Supreme Court justice ruled that the full set of information be reinstated after days of mounting pressure from across the political spectrum. Critics alleged the government was hiding the severity of the coronavirus outbreak. Brazil's health ministry first delayed the release of its coronavirus case count last week before abruptly removing cumulative totals of all cases and deaths from its website. The Supreme Court statement said that the action made it, quote, impossible to monitor the spread of the virus and implement appropriate prevention policies, unquote. Brazil is still the second highest affected nation in the world from the coronavirus. Moscow started to ease its coronavirus-related restrictions yesterday, with one of the first steps being the ending of self-isolation. With residents once again free to go outdoors, public places have seen a significant increase of traffic and people. Also, starting from yesterday, businesses such as beauty salons and photo studios have reopened. Rehearsals are also allowed for theatres, concerts and circuses. In addition, public libraries, museums, exhibition halls and zoos will reopen on 16th of June, while gyms and swimming pools will resume operation on the 23rd of this month. Malaysia resumed nearly all economic activity and allowed reinstate travel today, as coronavirus restrictions imposed nearly 3 months ago were eased further to revive an economy battered by the pandemic. The Southeast Asian nation had partially lifted curbs in May amid a decline in new coronavirus cases. Furthermore, the number of new infections fell to single digits this week as more restrictions were removed. Businesses which reopened today included hairdressing and beauty salons and clothing shops, which are now allowed to operate with social distancing measures put in place.
We'll return shortly after this break. Welcome back to the news. George Floyd was laid to rest next to his mother yesterday after more than 2 weeks following his death at the hands of Minneapolis police. The death of Floyd, an unarmed African American, has galvanized a new civil rights movement calling for an overhaul of policing in the U.S., triggering nationwide protests against police brutality and systemic racism.
As a wave of police reform sweep the United States, the Washington, D.C. Council unanimously approved a major slate of changes, including a ban on the hiring of officers with a history of serious misconduct. Emergency legislation would also require the city to quickly release the names of officers who use force on citizens, along with body camera footage of those incidents. Meanwhile, monuments of colonizers and Confederate leaders are under attack across the United States, and among the latest, a Christopher Columbus statue was torn down in Richmond and another was beheaded in Boston. Meanwhile, Cops, the long-running reality show that glorified policing, was cancelled by Paramount Network as unscripted TV shows about the police face a moment of reckoning. Several police officers who behaved violently with protesters are now facing charges, including a New York officer who was caught on video violently pushing a woman to the ground during a recent protest.
And that wraps up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.